In a tense courtroom, as everyone held their breath waiting for the verdict of a stern judge, an unexpected voice shattered the silence. "Can we make pancakes?" The innocent words from a 6-year-old girl stunned the courtroom and completely changed the lives of a single mother and her daughter. But what happened next? Before we begin, let us know where you're watching this video from in the comments below. And if you love inspiring stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated with more amazing content. Now, let's dive in and focus. This story will not only surprise you, but also leave you reflecting deeply on the vow. Samantha Davis, a single mother, lived with her 6-year-old daughter Olivia in a small apartment in Brooklyn, New York. Samantha's life was a constant struggle to balance work and caring for her daughter, working at a bakery in the city. Samantha often had to start her day before sunrise, while Olivia remained sound asleep, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. Life, already challenging, became even more burdensome when Olivia fell seriously ill the previous week. In an urgent situation, Samantha had no choice but to park in a restricted zone to buy medicine for her daughter. The result was a $200 parking ticket, a sum that Samantha could not afford on her modest salary. The parking ticket was not just a financial burden. It became a source of unrelenting worry for Samantha. She knew she had to appear in court to explain her circumstances, hoping for leniency or dismissal to fine. But facing the rigid legal system, she felt like a small individual up against an enormous machine. On the morning of her court appearance, Samantha woke up earlier than usual. The dim light from the window did little to ease her anxieties. She prepared a simple breakfast for Olivia before waking her. Olivia, with her innocent smile, was blissfully unaware of the stress her mother was enduring. The Brooklyn courtroom was an imposing and pressurized environment. Its gray walls and the piercing gazes of those present made Samantha feel as though she was being judged by the entire world. Clutching Olivia's hand tightly, she walked in with a faint hope that the truth of her circumstances would be understood. Sitting at the front was Judge Thomas Alden, a man renowned for his strictness and unyielding nature. Known for adhering to the letter of the law, he was not easily swayed by emotions or personal circumstances. His presence only added to Samantha's unease as she repeatedly rehearsed her plea in her mind. "Your Honor, I only parked for a few minutes to buy medicine for my daughter. I didn't mean to break the law." What Samantha didn't realize was that today would not only be about her or the parking ticket. A small yet powerful moment was about to turn the entire situation around. Olivia, with the innocence of a child, did something completely unexpected. She broke the courtroom's silence with the question, "Can we make pancakes?" That question wasn't just a surprise. It was the beginning of a series of events that Samantha could never have foreseen. What followed would not only change her life and her daughter's, but also touch everyone present in the courtroom that day. The courtroom was suffocating under the weight of tension. All eyes were fixed on Judge Thomas Alden, who was meticulously reviewing the documents on his desk with an air of stern authority. The sound of pages turning echoed steadily, a reminder that time was passing and the verdict was approaching. Samantha Davis sat in the defendant's seat, feeling her heartbeat quicken with each passing second. Her hand clutched tightly around her daughter Olivia's tiny fingers, as if trying to draw strength from the connection. Without lifting his head, Judge Alden's voice rang out, sharp and decisive. "Ms. Samantha Davis, the defendant has been charged with parking in a restricted zone. Do you deny this?" Samantha stammered, struggling to find her voice. But before she could answer, a small child's voice broke the oppressive silence. "Can we make pancakes?" Olivia's words froze the entire courtroom for a moment. Faces turned toward the little girl, astonishment etched into every expression. Samantha's face flushed red as she quickly pulled Olivia closer, whispering, "What are you doing? This is not the time to talk about that." But Olivia, with the natural innocence of a child, was unfazed. She looked up at Judge Alden, her wide, curious eyes gleaming. "Do you like pancakes?" she asked. "I think pancakes make people happier." The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted, moving from shock to curiosity and even a hint of amusement. A few light chuckles escaped from the audience, quickly silenced by a stern glance from a nearby officer. Samantha wished she could disappear into the floor, but Olivia, undeterred, continued. "I'm hungry. Mommy said we'd have to wait a long time, but I think if we had pancakes, everyone would feel better." Judge Alden, known for his unyielding demeanor and reputation as a no-nonsense enforcer of the law, paused. His stern face softened slightly as he raised an eyebrow, seemingly trying to process what he'd just heard. After a brief silence, he looked up and directed his gaze at Olivia. Instead of displaying anger, his tone was unexpectedly gentle as he asked, "Did you just say pancakes?" His question left the courtroom stunned. A man known for his strictness had responded with such lightness. Olivia nodded enthusiastically, her smile radiant. "Yes, pancakes with syrup. Do you like them?" This time, the courtroom couldn't hold back. A ripple of laughter spread through the room. Samantha felt her heart sink further, her embarrassment growing. She quickly interjected, "Your Honor, I'm so sorry. She's just hungry." Judge Alden raised a hand to signal for silence. His eyes lingered on Olivia, and his hardened expression softened further. "What's your name?" he asked. "Olivia, but you can call me Liv," she replied confidently, her bright eyes shining. Olivia's innocence didn't just break the courtroom's tension. It seemed to melt the gray walls that had felt so cold and uninviting. For the first time in years, Judge Alden allowed a small smile to cross his lips. "Liv, he began, his tone surprisingly light. "This is the first time anyone in my courtroom has mentioned pancakes." The room erupted in quiet laughter. Samantha, though still anxious, couldn't help but smile at the positive energy her daughter had created. The story had taken a turn no one could have anticipated, a shift in the judge's attitude. Judge Thomas Alden was known for being strict and unwavering in his principles. Throughout his long career, he had always delivered judgments based on evidence, logic, and an unwavering adherence to the law. To him, justice was not to be swayed by emotions or personal circumstances. Every case had to be handled impartially, without exception. But the moment Olivia's voice pierced through the silence, something shifted. The unexpected intervention of a child made him pause. His sharp gaze turned toward Olivia, not with anger, but with a rare curiosity. "Did you just say pancakes?" The question itself was an indication of a change in his usually rigid demeanor. When Olivia nodded with a radiant smile and explained that pancakes could make people happier, Judge Alden felt something he hadn't in a long time: warmth. The child's innocent words were like a breath of fresh air in the cold, mechanical environment of the courtroom. It wasn't just her simplicity. It was a reminder of kindness and the small joys in life. In that moment, Judge Alden began to see beyond the legalities. Behind the charge sheet and the courtroom's formalities, he saw real people with real stories. He didn't just see a single mother trying her best to raise her daughter. He also recognized that justice was not only about punishment, but about understanding and empathy. "Liv," Judge Alden said, his voice gentler than anyone had ever heard, "This is the first time anyone in my courtroom has ever mentioned pancakes." His words prompted another wave of soft laughter. Samantha, sitting beside Olivia, felt a glimmer of hope. She couldn't have imagined that her daughter's innocent remark would begin to shift the mood of such a daunting situation. But the change didn't stop there. Judge Alden began to look more closely at Samantha's circumstances. He set the case file aside, leaned back in his chair, and truly listened. His eyes, typically cold and detached, now reflected genuine empathy. "Ms. Davis," he said, his voice carrying a warmth rarely associated with him, "I'd like to know more about your situation." At first hesitant, Samantha started to share her story. She spoke about her long work hours, her worries for Olivia's health, and the reason she had parked in a restricted zone that day. Judge Alden listened intently, not interrupting or judging. His silence wasn't intimidating. It was respectful and understanding. That moment didn't just change how he viewed Samantha. It also altered how he saw his role as a judge. Judge Alden realized that beyond enforcing the law, he had a duty to protect and support those who were vulnerable. And for the first time in his career, he decided to prioritize compassion over rigid adherence to the rules. Judge Thomas Alden was renowned for his strictness and unwavering adherence to principles. For many years, he had delivered judgments grounded in logic, evidence, and a steadfast commitment to the law. He firmly believed that justice should not be influenced by emotions, and every case must be handled impartially, with no exceptions. But when Olivia broke the silence with her innocent words, everything began to shift. At first, her unexpected intervention caught him off guard. His sharp eyes turned toward Olivia, not with anger, but with a rare curiosity. "Did you just say pancakes?" His question not only stunned the courtroom, but also marked a turning point in his demeanor. When Olivia nodded, her bright smile lighting up the room, and explained that she thought pancakes could make people happier, Judge Alden felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time: warmth. Olivia's innocent words were like a breath of fresh air sweeping through the cold, sterile atmosphere of the courtroom. It wasn't just her simplicity. It was a poignant reminder of compassion and the small joys in life. In that moment, Judge Alden realized that behind the charge sheets and rigid rules were real people with unique stories and struggles. He no longer saw just a single mother trying her best to raise her daughter. He recognized that justice wasn't merely about punishment. It was also about understanding and empathy. "Liv, Judge Alden said, his tone significantly gentler than usual. "This is the first time anyone in my courtroom has mentioned pancakes." His words brought another ripple of laughter from the room. The tension that had hung so heavily in the air seemed to dissipate. Sitting beside Olivia, Samantha felt a glimmer of hope flicker to life. She could never have imagined that her daughter's innocent comment could alter the demeanor of someone like Judge Alden. But the transformation didn't stop there. Judge Alden began to look deeper into Samantha's situation. He set the case file aside, leaned back in his chair, and truly listened. His eyes, usually cold and detached, now reflected genuine empathy. "Ms. Davis," he said, his voice carrying an unexpected warmth, "I'd like to know more about your circumstances." Initially hesitant, Samantha began to share her struggles. She spoke of the long hours she worked, her worries about Olivia's health, and the reason she had parked in a restricted zone that day. Judge Alden listened attentively, without interrupting or passing judgment. His silence was no longer intimidating. It was filled with respect and understanding. This moment not only changed how he viewed Samantha, but also reshaped his perspective on his role as a judge. Judge Alden realized that beyond enforcing the law, he had a responsibility to protect and support those who were vulnerable. And for the first time in his career, he decided to place compassion above rigid principles. After listening intently to Samantha's story, Judge Alden did not rush to deliver a verdict. He paused for a moment, as if reflecting on everything he had just heard. Then, with a calm yet empathetic voice, he declared, "This ticket will be dismissed." The courtroom fell silent for a moment. Samantha stared in disbelief, her eyes widening as if she couldn't trust her ears. Judge Alden continued, however, "I understand that canceling this ticket does not solve the larger challenges you're facing. Therefore, I would like to do more to help you." He reached for a folder, flipped through its pages quickly, and pulled out a list of support programs. This list includes vocational training courses, child care assistance, and free online education programs. "I believe these resources can help you build a better life for both you and Olivia." Still in shock, Samantha took the paper from the officer's hand. She looked at the words on the page as tears welled up in her eyes. These weren't just empty promises. They were real opportunities. She choked out, "I don't know how to thank you." Judge Alden offered a rare but meaningful smile. "You don't need to thank me. Sometimes, justice is not just about punishment, but about helping those who need it." Olivia, with the innocence of a child, tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked, "Mommy, are you happy now?" Samantha knelt down, pulling Olivia into a tight embrace. She kissed her daughter's soft curls and replied, "Yes, sweetheart, I'm very happy." The atmosphere in the courtroom transformed entirely. Those present looked at Judge Alden with newfound respect. He was no longer just a stern and rigid figure, but a man filled with compassion. Applause broke out, tentative at first, but soon spread throughout the room. As Samantha stepped out of the courtroom, holding the support list in one hand and Olivia's small hand in the other, she felt a renewed sense of hope. She knew that this wasn't just a lucky day, but the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Judge Alden remained seated in the courtroom, watching as the mother and daughter walked away. He knew that his decision that day hadn't just changed their lives. It had also changed the way he viewed his own role. Justice, he realized, wasn't confined to rigid laws, but was also rooted in compassion and understanding. Samantha and Olivia's story is not just a lesson in compassion, but also a reminder that sometimes the simplest things can have the most profound impact. From Olivia's innocent words, we see how sincerity and childlike honesty can open doors that once seemed firmly shut. Judge Alden, a man known for his rigidity, learned that justice is not merely about the enforcement of laws, but also about understanding and supporting those who are struggling. His decision not only helped Samantha overcome her immediate challenges, but also gave her an opportunity to build a brighter future for her daughter. This story prompts us to reflect on our individual responsibility to create positive change. Sometimes, a small action, a simple statement, or a compassionate decision can profoundly impact someone's life. Empathy and kindness not only bring hope to those who receive them, but also remind everyone around us of the true value of human connection. Ultimately, the greatest lesson from this story is the power of hope and opportunity. Samantha left the courtroom not just with relief, but with a renewed belief that life can change, that kindness can appear in the most unexpected places. It's a reminder that even in the toughest circumstances, we can find light and goodness if we are open to receiving them. If you were in the judge's position, what would you have done? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective, and we'll see you in the next video.